Hello, everyone. So my name is Olivia McCants, and I am here representing the Career Services Office. I just want to thank the department for having me come and be able to share some very important components of the professional development and job searching process with you all. Unfortunately, I was not able to make it there for a live presentation, so I'm doing this recording today. But if you have any questions or anything that you are just needing a little bit more explanation on, feel free to reach out to me and I will make sure to have my information at the very end of the presentation for you. So today we're going to be talking about preparing for this search, internship searching strategies, as well as networking and navigating LinkedIn. So jumping right into kind of who we are as far as the Career Services Office, I, of course, am the Assistant Director. You'll see our student focus area. So if you are looking for opportunities or how to necessarily navigate industries like NGOs, nonprofits, state and local government, I am the liaison for those different industries. We also have Paul, who is our director. His student focus areas are academic research, health informatics, and then opportunities at Johns Hopkins. And then we have Caroline, our associate director. She is focusing and consulting federal government and healthcare. However, she is currently on leave. So if you have any questions regarding those industries, feel free to reach out to myself or Paul. And then, of course, last but not least, we have Jeanette Jeffrey. So she is our alumni career fellow. She works with our alumni as well as the MPH students and really helping to support them in their transition and any questions that they have regarding that area. Getting right into it, the first thing that I want to touch on today is preparing for the search. A lot of times when we think about the job search, we may want to jump right in and start going to different search engines and typing in position titles. But I always recommend to prepare yourself first because the job search process is just that. It's a process. I always recommend to start about 3 to 6 months in advance of when you would ideally like to have an opportunity solidified when it comes to searching. And so in that time frame, you'll be doing some preparation. And what that looks like is something that we call research, identify, and connect. This can be applied to an internship search. It can also be applied to looking for jobs. We'll discuss a little bit later about some of the internship strategies and how exactly that looks, and then also how it may even differ from job searching. So, research, what does that look like? You're going to search for organizations within your desired industry. You want to make sure that you are really taking heed to what they do, who they are, right? So, what type of departments they have, what is their mission, their vision, their goals, and really seeing if that's something that is in alignment with what your interests are. And then from there, you want to identify. So you specifically want to review the position descriptions to determine the types of internships available. You can also use this as an opportunity to send out cold emails, which is essentially as you reaching out to HR or whoever the contact is on a particular posting. You can inquire more about that posting. If there are opportunities that you do not see on their website that maybe you might be interested in, you can just reach out to see, if they're going to be posting any new opportunities within the next couple of weeks or few months or where have you. But the research piece is going to be very significant because what it does is it allows you to broaden your horizons, to learn more about the different type of organizations that are out there that are doing the work that you're interested in. What you might find is that there are more organizations that you even ever heard of that are doing this work. And so the more information you have, the more organizations you have to work with, typically is going to be the more opportunities that are available to you just simply by the nature of casting a wider net. If you have a very large net and you're casting it out far, you're probably going to bring in more opportunities. And so then, of course, you want to make sure to connect. So once you have this list of organizations that you are interested in, once you've been able to identify some position descriptions, and a big part of that as well is also thinking about skill development. So the position descriptions will usually say what they're looking for or how they may be seeking to help you because you're going to be coming in as an intern. And that's something that also you can kind of consider when you're preparing yourself, like your documents, your CV or your resume or your cover letter. But this connection piece is significant because it allows you to build your network. LinkedIn is a great source for this, and we'll actually kind of dive deeper into how you might leverage LinkedIn to develop these connections. We're also going to talk about informational interviewing. I believe it's one of the most underrated networking tools. It definitely takes time. It requires you to put some efforts and be proactive in the process, but it definitely will provide a great return on your investment if you are committed to that process. So, research. Where do you even start? Considering where do epidemiologists go? So I've pulled up just a few organizations here that offer both internship opportunities and job opportunities. A lot of times when people may think of epidemiology, they may focus heavily on the research part of things. There's actually nothing wrong with that, but I also want folks to kind of consider the different industries that epidemiologists will find themselves in. One of them being state and local government. So here you see the Baltimore City Health Department and the New York State Department of Health. Hospitals are one of them as well. So you have the Seattle Children's Hospital Research and Foundation. So they actually have a combination of different ways that epidemiologists can find themselves doing work within that particular organization. So we'll go a little bit deeper into what that actually looks like. So, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the largest employers of epidemiologists are listed here below. Some of you might be surprised on how significant state and local government is to the work of epidemiologists. Many of them are employed at the local level and they do a significant amount of work in supporting those different communities. This excludes education and hospitals, so that's something to keep in mind. And then you also have 15% of epidemiologists will find themselves employed at hospitals. These can be state, local, and private hospitals, colleges and universities, and then, of course, scientific research and development services. So I've included the source down here below for you. I will make sure to share these slides out so that you all have the opportunity. If you want to do a little bit more of this research yourself, which is something that I definitely recommend that you do, you'll be able to kind of hone in more so on, what are the different types of state government. So of course you have your state and your local health departments, but what are they doing within those particular organizations, right? Within every given organization, they may have different sectors or different departments, and you may find that of the many different types of epidemiologists that there are out there, that they align in different ways within these particular organizations. So definitely take the opportunity to do some of that research. And as you see here, just with this information, you might find that the research is a really big component to you having a better understanding of what this career path can look like for you. What are these industries that are available to the career path? And then what types of internships would you like to align yourself with so that way you're gaining the experiences to eventually go down that particular career path. Okay, so identify. So these are the types of epidemiologist positions. They're the position titles. So I've focused in on the specialties within epidemiology, and then I've also provided the description. I shared with you before how significant those position descriptions can be, whether it's an internship opportunity or a job opportunity. How you might look at it will be different though, depending on the opportunity. So if it is a job opportunity that you're looking for, you really want to pull out the different skill sets and qualifications that they're asking you to have. You want to consider, do you already have those skills? If so, is there any way that you can improve them? Is there any way that you can highlight them in your document? So your resume, your CV, your cover letter, or whatever it is that they're asking for the application process. If you don't have those skills, what are some opportunities or ways in which you can start developing them? That can be in your academic training, that can be any like case scenarios that you're working through. If you've had internship opportunities already, that could be volunteering as well. Now, on the other side of things, when we're thinking about an internship opportunity and we're looking at the position description for those, we want to put ourselves in the frame of mind of being a learner and opening yourself up to really take in the information. When it comes to internship opportunities, they recognize that you may not have a laundry list of experiences that are directly related. And that is essentially the point of the internship opportunity is for you to learn, for you to grow. And so they're looking at your academic training. They're looking at the ways in which that you are seeking to apply this knowledge forward. They want you to be able to show yourself as someone who is open to the learning process, who is open to collaborating with others and individuals who've maybe done this work for quite some time. So with that information, as you may go through these particular position descriptions, and I have another slide of them as well, you can consider, are these descriptions related to things that I'm interested in or a career path that I want to learn more about? So let's say that you already know about 2 to 3 of these particular position titles or position descriptions, but then there's like a handful of them that you didn't even know was something that you can pursue in the realm of epidemiology. Consider that and how you might seek an internship opportunity. This will open the door for you to maybe search for internship opportunities that are a lot more closely related to being a disaster epidemiologist. So you could have some more of that hands on practice and be able to really kind of understanding what that realm of epidemiology looks like. So this next slide, as I shared, is just more of those specialties and position descriptions for you to be able to dig into a little further. Again, I definitely recommend if there's anything that's sticking out to you that is an area of epidemiology that you had not once considered before or did not even know was a possibility for you, to kind of go back to that research part of things. And as you've done the research with organizations, you'll apply that same method of researching within these given specialties. Okay, so connecting, how do you do that? I really want to kind of emphasize redefining the idea of networking. Sometimes it's daunting, just the word in and of itself. It seems like there's a lot of components to it. And there is an effort, a proactive sort of approach that you have to take, but it also really can just be a simple conversation with someone, listening about the different experiences that they might have, sharing about your own experiences or experiences that you would like to have moving forward in the future, finding some commonalities, some interests and some experiences that maybe you both share. And if that does not exist, that's fine, because there may be commonalities and things that you would like to learn or skills that you would like to improve upon. So the importance of networking, a lot of times people spend their job search process or their internship process really looking through the online search engines. And while there's nothing wrong with that, what you might find is that not all of the opportunities that are out there are actually posted online. And that says a lot, considering that if you go across these various search engines, you will find tons of opportunities, in fact, thousands of opportunities posted. So the fact that only 15% of those opportunities are online and there's thousands of them to begin with should really tell you just how much more is out there for you to be able to get connected to. And the way to do that is definitely going to be through networking. So, how to get started? Networking, again, like I said, it can feel like one of those really difficult things that may make you kind of be outside of your comfort zone and you're talking to people that you don't know. It can be intimidating, but the idea is to get out of your comfort zone. As you move throughout your career, from internship opportunity to job opportunity, from internship opportunity to job opportunity, to even just elevating yourself and one day being in a senior level role within your given industry, you will find that you will be constantly pushed out of your comfort zone and that you will be challenged and you'll be stretched in many different ways. So it's something that I encourage you to start getting comfortable with the uncomfortable now. It's really about planting the seed and building advocates. So you're not necessarily going into networking asking for a job opportunity, but you do want to share more about your professional identity with people, right? Of course, they're your experiences. It's going to be your academic training. If you've done any volunteer work, if you have, any certifications or things that you've done, or maybe if it's just a particular area that you find yourself passionate about, share that, right? What happens is that these individuals can become the eyes and ears for you. There are a lot of times in which your name may be floating around in a room that you've never stepped foot in, but it very much has to do with the fact that the other people who are in that room, who have met you, who've connected with you, who understand your passion and who are recognizing the potential that you have and are advocating for that to other individuals. So the way in which that you can get started with this is going to be informational interviewing. If you are not familiar with informational interviewing, it essentially is a reverse of the traditional interviewing process. Usually, when we think about interviewing, it is going in for a job interview, and you're going to be asked questions of an interviewer, and you are sitting in the interviewee seat, right? You're talking about your skills, your qualifications, and everything that really has brought you to that point to pursue that position. So, we want to reverse this. When we think about informational interviewing, if you take the interviewing piece out of it, it really is about information and developing those influential introductions, right? So, meeting with people that maybe you've never met before, meeting with people that you have met before, and you're just continuing that connection, going to be very significant in this process. What you will find in informational interviewing is that you are essentially reaching out to individuals and you are asking them of some of their time. So you're asking them maybe to sit down with you for 30 minutes over a Zoom call while you ask them questions. And the goal of the questions is really to learn more about maybe the organization they work out, learn more about their role that they're currently in or their career path. You can learn about some of the challenges that they experience to get where they are and how they maneuvered through that. Any tips or insights that they may have for you, all of these are going to be that pieces of information that you probably would not know unless you worked at an organization or you were already within that given field. And so the best way to do that outside of actually being within that field is talking to someone who is. So when we're thinking about internship opportunities, that is actually a really good place to start this informational interviewing and start building connections, even to get an internship opportunity, because what you'll find is that the more that you do it, the more seamless it'll become and natural it'll feel for you. So when you're at the place of looking for jobs, you can kind of transition into that and continue to build your network. So, how to approach an informational interview. The first thing that I want to focus in on here is that you're not asking for a job. Of course, networking is all about kind of that professional connections. And there's this mutual understanding that you both are looking for something from the other person. However, we're all human and no one really wants to feel like they're just being used, right? And that's all that you see in them is just to kind of get a leg up. Um, you'll also recognize is that unless you're doing an informational interviewing with someone who's in an HR department, they probably don't even have all of the important information about job opportunities. So if you're not asking for a job, how do you approach it? This is how you would approach it is that you want to avoid certain questions, right? So can you tell me about any open positions at your organization? Instead of that, you may ask, can you tell me a little bit more about the organization? I read that the mission is X, Y, and Z, but what does that look like in a day to day practice for this company, right? Then another question to avoid, are there any openings I can apply to? Again, if they're not HR, they probably don't know about this. But what you can ask them was, what was your process like when you were applying to the openings that were available at that time? What was the interview process like for you? Were there multi-level interviews? Did you have a panel interview? Was it a roundtable interview? What was that preparation process for you like? Or maybe how long did it take for them to get back to you so that you have more an idea that once you are situated of going through this interview process of what you can expect. Another question to avoid, is there anyone in the organization I can speak with about jobs? And so the reason why this is something you want to avoid, it's not unreasonable to want to speak with someone about opportunities, but it's also something that you probably could ascertain on your own by going to the website. And like I said, finding that HR department, you probably even could find an HR person for that organization on LinkedIn just by doing a search in that LinkedIn tab. Again, you're not trying to focus as heavily on finding a job, but more so about making connection with this person. So instead, you want to think like a reporter. So you don't want to fully try and sell yourself. Of course, you want to share things about yourself, about your professional identity, as I said before, where your passion lies, where your interests are, and maybe even some of the work that you've done. But it should really be focused on getting to know that person first when you have this initial contact with them. Again, going back to the idea of you want this relationship to feel very reciprocal and not like this person is essentially being used. So instead, ask fact finding and open ended questions. How did you get to be where you're at? You can change these questions to match what exactly you're looking for. You can specify them. There are many different questions and approaches and ways that you can do this. But again, really kind of focusing on some of the insights that they can provide for you. If you want to focus on some of the challenges that they've experienced so that you guys are just aware of what it's like navigating this industry. If it's someone who maybe is in a particular internship opportunity right now that you're interested in, asking them more so about what are the things that they're learning? What are some of the things they feel like are the most important that they're learning through this internship opportunity? The third question down is actually one that I always recommend to individuals. If you have the opportunity to speak with an alumni, is what ways do you use your JHSPH training in your current position, or how did your JHSPH training prepare you for this role? The idea of the transition from academic training to industry, sometimes it can be a little daunting and that you may not know exactly how to apply your training forward, right? And it's not necessarily going to be a linear process. There's definitely probably going to be some bumps along the road, some things that you're just going to be figuring out as you're kind of assimilating into industry and what that looks like. But what can help make that transition a little bit smoother for you is connecting with alumni, individuals who were once in your shoes. More than likely, they are encouraged to support you because that is a means of giving back for them, but also because they empathize. They understand they were once there and they want to be able to support you in any way that they possibly can. So, again, going back to the idea of networking and informational interviewing can definitely sometimes be intimidating. But if you're starting off with alumni and people that you already have a point of a connection with, just by the simple fact that you both have been in Bloomberg and have gone through similar programming, then you may find that it's not as difficult or strenuous on you to pursue. Okay, so planting the seed. Your questions definitely should be open-ended, as I shared before. But you also want to be able to take the opportunity to share about you. You don't want it to be all about you, though, right? So, again, you're not trying to sell yourself, but once you've established a connection with them, you can begin to build rapport and really kind of leverage that to share more about yourself. So, this is taking it beyond that probably initial informational interviewing session. I always recommend that in order to continue the relationship, because sometimes we have these really great conversations and we're like, how do we continue this? How do we keep it going? Find something within that first conversation that you have that you can attach yourself to as a reason to reach back out to them. For example, if there's a specific type of, let's say, advice that they give you during the informational interview, go and actually do that if you have the opportunity to, right? If it doesn't work out, you still can reach out. You can tell them, since our last conversation, I actually pursued what you shared with me, and I did not get the results that I had hoped for. Are there any other tips, or maybe you can share like what exactly happened and what did not work? See if there's any other things that they can provide for you as advice on how to navigate that challenge. That just gives you a reason to reach out to them. It gives you a reason to plant the seed and continue connecting with them. And then if it did work, then that's great. You share with them that it really worked well for you and that you appreciate that. And you also can ask for maybe additional advice or suggestions or whatever insights that is that you may be looking for. If you're able to continue the conversation, or even if they offer to look at your resume. And I really emphasize the idea of offering here, because again, going back to the idea that you're not trying to ask for a job when you initially speak with them, but sometimes people are gracious enough that they'll say, hey, send me your resume. Maybe I can pass it along to someone, or maybe I can take a look at it. If they offer that to you, that is an amazing opportunity to continue the conversation because you email them and you follow up and you send them your resume, or maybe they looked at it and they got it back to you, and you make those recommendations that they've provided there for you, and then send it back and see if maybe they can review it again. Whatever way in which you can find to keep that conversation going, checking in with them, I would say, maybe every 4 to 6 weeks or so. You do want to recognize and be mindful of these individuals' times, but also be proactive in continuing the relationship. Okay. So, active listening, I would say, is the fourth component of informational interviewing. And it may seem like something that is quite obvious, but going back to the idea of you really want to try and absorb as much information as possible from them and not just completely make it about you, these are some things to kind of be in tune with, right? People really enjoy talking about themselves, especially if they enjoy their work. So capitalize on that. Make sure that you're coming and that if you have questions, that if there's something that you're looking to follow up on, ask those follow-up questions because it shows that you really are caring about what they have to say and that you want to learn a little bit more. Um, I would also say pay attention to the ways in which you connect and build a rapport with them, right? What is it centered around? Was it focused on? What are some of those commonalities that you found? Listen very much so. Take notes because there may be so much information that's coming out of this interview that you cannot keep track of everything. by just, sitting there and listening. So you want to make sure that you're taking notes. That'll also be great. Going back to the slide I shared before about how you plant the seed and find ways to continue that relationship as you've taken notes, you can go back and reflect upon that and then use those as opportunities to reach back out. And then, of course, respect their advice and suggestions. Now, you may not necessarily go with every suggestion that they have. You may not even necessarily agree with it. Maybe you find your own way as you're navigating through things. But also, if there's something that you don't agree with, you don't necessarily have to just tell them, like, oh, no, I'm not going to do that. You know for yourself if it's something that you feel like may not necessarily work for you. But just be mindful and respectful of their advice and the fact that they've taken the time to have this conversation with you. Okay. So, just to kind of wrap up the idea of connection, because I know that I discussed quite a few things, looking at informational interviewing, here are the key points. Make sure you do your research. Make sure you're asking good questions and you're taking notes. You can utilize some of the questions in these slides as I will be sharing them out. But also, if you go to Google and you look at, informational interviewing questions, you can find quite a bit of them there. You can always personalize them to what exactly you're seeking to learn from the person about the industry, about the organization, or their role. Again, you don't want to ask for a job, but approach it as if it was as important as a job interview. So you come prepared, but you come prepared with questions to ask them. And also consider that they may ask questions of you as well. So though you don't want to monopolize it and make it all about you, be prepared to talk about yourself, right? Maybe you have an elevator pitch ready and you're talking about your educational experiences thus far and the things that you're interested in. Please make sure to send them a thank you note. I always recommend to do it as soon as you possibly can. So maybe, after the call, but definitely by the end of business on the next day, just to show your appreciation for them again taking the time. And then with the notes that you have, reflecting on what you've learned, being able to apply that forward if you have the opportunity to as well. Okay, so now that we've really focused on preparing for the search, let's jump into some of these internship search strategies. So, job searching versus practicum searching or also internship searching, you will find that it's centered around very different things. And so, though it may feel similar, there are some differences, and I want to be able to highlight those here for you. So, first things first, the job search process is very much past oriented searching. It is based on the things that you've done in the past, the experiences that you've had, whereas practicum searching is going to be based on what you will do in the future. So, you're trying to sell yourself and your experiences more so about how you can learn from this opportunity and how you can then apply that forward. Then what you'll also notice is that there's going to be this difference in selling your experience and then focusing heavily on your academic training. So for job searching, you're selling your experience plus your new academic training that you've acquired. Whereas when you're looking for a practicum or internship, you're going to be focused on selling your academic training and not so much your past experiences because they want to know about what you're currently learning and how they can best support that through the internship. Another difference here is that showing how you're the best prepared, most qualified candidate. Whereas with an internship, you want to show how the most that you will gain from the experience, right? So you're really showing yourself as someone who will absorb knowledge, someone who is a lifelong learner, someone who is open, who's going to be taking heed to these different things. So that's a lot of the difference that you'll find is that job searching is going to focus in heavily on what you've done previously, whereas an internship or practicum search is going to be focused on what you can do with this new knowledge that you're going to acquire through the opportunity. The last point here that you'll see is also how you might consider the different opportunities. When you get that job right after your master's program, it may be a stepping stone position, right? Allowing you to kind of get your foot in the door as you work your way up through the particular field. Whereas with the practicum experience or an internship, it will help you kind of fill in the gap between where you want to be and where you currently are, right? So just two different approaches. There are similarities, but again, I think that it's very helpful when you have an understanding of what it's like to do an internship search and how it may differ from a job search, that you will be a lot more successful in how you are selling yourself and your experiences. Okay, so here are some more differences that you will find. With the job search, you will definitely want to take an active role, whereas with internship searching, you may find yourself taking both an active and a passive role. The amount of time that you dedicate to this search is also going to be very important. Like I shared before, that search process, especially for a job, can take 3 to 6 months. So you want to be strategic and setting aside a certain amount of time each week to dedicate to it. That could be, working on your documents, tailoring your resume to the particular job opportunity. That could be informational interviewing and building up your network. That can be actually putting in applications. But all of this is going to contribute to your job search process because there's many different methods and approaches that you can take. Whereas with an internship search, you will find that you really want to align yourself with faculty and alumni as much as possible, seeking opportunities in which that you can learn and that you can grow, setting out a goal of about 2 to 3 hours per week and looking for these opportunities or preparing yourself to be applying for these opportunities or having these conversations with faculty and alumni. I will also say that with internship opportunities, faculty are a great resource for you because they are very in tune with a lot of different opportunities that are happening, especially if you're looking for something that is at Hopkins. So, also looking again, like I shared for the timeline for that search, the way that looks is really going to be dependent on what it is. So, the reason why you'll have a longer timeline to be looking for jobs is that the opportunities are really created based on needing to fill a particular role, right? So there's a role that is empty and an organization is looking to fill it. And so what may happen is that you'll find that the timeline that the organization is on can either be longer or shorter than what you're looking at. So you want to prepare yourself for the variables within that process. Whereas with an internship opportunity, these opportunities, sometimes they're already established, but sometimes they can be created as the need is there, right? Sometimes organizations will create internship opportunity for individuals or for a group of particular individuals to provide that support. So the practicum start dates can be negotiated to fit your schedule. There's this understanding of that this is not a full-time job opportunity. This is an internship opportunity and that you're looking at it from a completely different lens. So you may be able to have some more of that flexibility and have those conversations around negotiating. And then also, it can be based on the amount of training you have completed. So that's something to consider when you're thinking about how am I going to approach my search. Okay, so I lastly want to leave you all with some really good starting points as far as looking for internship opportunities. So the American Public Health Association internships, this is just an excerpt from their site. And I actually have the web address down at the bottom here that you'll be able to access later when you have the slides so that you can look into this a little bit further. But I want to have this next few slides really focus in on how you all can approach this process after you've kind of done some of that preparation. And that is really kind of digging into these internship boards and where you can find opportunities. So the nice thing about the APHA internships and fellowships is that you'll find that it is very specific to public health. APHA, of course, is one of the largest organizations in regards to public health and public health work. So I think that if you're looking for internship opportunity, this is a great one to align yourself with. And then, of course, you have the information here about these internship deadlines and dates. So what you'll see is the application deadline for summer, for those of you who may be interested in that, is March 1. So you still have some time. I definitely recommend going to this website, looking at the internships that they have, looking at their criteria, and starting your application process as soon as you feel like you are equipped to do so. If you need to, work on any documents or anything like that in advance of, you have the time to do that before the deadline. Okay. So I also want to include the DEI collective internships. You may have been receiving emails from me about this. This is something that is a collaboration with Higher Hopkins and the DEI collective program. And so they have put together fabulous efforts to really bring internship opportunities specifically to Johns Hopkins students. So one thing I will share is that you may find that not all of these opportunities are specific to public health, but do not count that out. Definitely go through these and see if there are any of these that are going to be in alignment with what you might be interested in, or maybe there's even some specific skill sets that you can gather from these different opportunities. The deadline is very close. It is approaching, so that is November 14th. So definitely make sure that you go to this web address down here at the bottom and just look through and see if there's any opportunities that you would like to be a part of for summer 2023. Okay, so then you have Society for Public Health Education. If you're not familiar with this organization, I definitely recommend going to their website. They have a lot of resources, a lot of information that I think is very helpful for individuals who are within their master's program and coming right out of the master's program. So, this internship program is kind of from their career hub. So, at any point when you're looking for job opportunities, you can also utilize this website and then just go to their career hub instead of the internship program. But again, the information is down here for you below so that you can start searching for public health specific internship opportunities. And then, of course, there is the CDC. So, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, they have public health internships specifically for master's degree students. They have short term internships. So these usually are the ones that are going to be completed in the summer. So, please do go to their website directly and look through some of the opportunities that they are offering that are specifically for master's degree students. Okay. So then we have a more of a broad internship search. So this is internships.com. It is actually through Chegg. If you're ever familiar with Chegg, it has definitely grown over time, and they have a dedicated site that is all for internships. If you look at the web address down at the bottom, you'll actually see that they have a specific web page that is off of their original internships.com that is specific to public health. So doing a little bit of research myself, I knew about internships.com, but I actually found that they have public health specific ones and they have it all on one page there for you all. So I thought that would be great to include here so that you have just another resource to utilize. Okay, so that is it for my presentation, but that does not mean that the way in which our office can support you has to end. I definitely recommend reaching out to me. I do work specifically with epidemiology students. So share my information. These are when I have my office hours. I have epidemiology specific office hours as well. I believe Justin has sent that out to the students, but I will share that along with the slide so that can go out again and the students are able to kind of capitalize on that. If there are any other ways in which that you would like to connect, please do reach out to our office. We have programming coming up. We actually have our state and local government industry day, which is coming up on Thursday, November 17th. So that is next Thursday. And so for those of you that were kind of paying attention to where do epidemiologists go, state and local government is one place that I will say you will find a lot of epidemiologists. So please do attend that. We have some really awesome professionals coming in that are going to be doing career talks and panels. And they're here to share their experiences with you. And that honestly is a really good way to start networking, getting their information in LinkedIn on the heels of that presentation. So if you have any questions and want to discuss any of this further, feel free to reach out to me. I will also ask Justin to send along my email for any of you who have pointed questions. Thank you all so much for this time and opportunity to share.